everyone, it's Rhonda here from Nelson's Soapery. I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia, and today we're going to make some gorgeous body butter. Living in a hot climate like we do in Australia, we definitely need the body butter to keep us feeling beautiful and our skin being revitalized. Even in winter as it is today, it is probably about 22 degrees in winter, so we still do get some warm days. So today I'm going to take you along with me as I make my body butter. So in my jars below, you can see I've got some beautiful products all here, and I will show you as we go along what I'm doing with the Shea butter, cocoa butter, and some jojoba oils, and some more interesting things that I'm going to pop into these. If you haven't subscribed to my channel and you would love to do so, just pop on the notifications, and that way you'll see my videos when they come out. I do like to bring you at least 2 videos a week. Often I bring 3, sometimes even 4, but at least you will have no less than 2. So then that will keep you interested and keep you making and creating things. For myself, I really love to do my channel a little bit different to a lot of other channels. I love to give a Sunday chat, and that's always about what you guys want to hear about. So if you have any suggestions, pop it down in the description box or the comments, and of course we will have a look at that, and then each Sunday we'll start to bring a bit of a live chat. But today is all about body butter, isn't it? So let's get going and make this beautiful body butter. All right, everyone, let's get started on making some body butter. So before we do it, of course, we need to organize a few things. Sanitizing the bench, of course, is key, which I have done that, but I will be wiping it down a bit because obviously I have no gloves on at the moment while we just have our first quick chat. But I do have my jars here. So this one here is my baby jar. Then I do have a medium-sized jar that we're going to use. And then last but not least, I have this massive big mama jar. And this one here I've just got from Pure Candle Supplies. They've just got these ones in. I actually wasn't able to find these anywhere else in Australia at the moment. So I was really happy when I seen them sitting on their shelf, and that's one of their new big orders they've got in. They sell these as candle jars, but of course they do have the lids just like the cream jars. So this is the lids that they come with, just your black ones, and they're perfect for my line because this is what I use in my body butters only. So, and of course we need some beautiful ingredients to pop in them, so I will show you before we go along what we need. So here I do have some utensils already set aside, and of course this is going to be the whip that will be used in my container. So I'm going to be whipping it in this, which has been cleaned already, and then that is going to go on my electric mixer. For any of you that are thinking, oh, I can't afford a KitchenAid, but I really want to do this, just your normal, standard, even a discounted one from your local department store on, an electric stand mixer is fine. The one I use is $69. It's not expensive from your department store. And I do suggest that you do not use the one that you use at home for cooking, because you're going to have other ingredients in it that are not used for food. Then of course next what we need is some products that we're going to use. So in here I do have some shea butter, some cocoa butter, and I also do have my coconut oil as well. Some people don't put coconut oil in theirs, but I've just noticed that it just does give it that really nice feel, just a little bit, not much. But the main ingredient in this is the unrefined shea butter, so that you'll be able to see at the bottom, which is absolutely beautiful. And honestly, you can use this without any oil or anything. You could just whip shea butter on its own if you really wanted to. But I don't like to do that. I do like to add more things in. Shea butter on its own can feel really heavy and really oily like butter. So that's why I don't like to just put it on its own. Then in my other container here, this will be the stage 2 that we will be doing. And then this, of course, is the wet ingredient. So this is my oil based in here. So in here, I do have a few products. So I have some jojoba oil in here. I also have some apricot kernal oil. A tiny bit of argan oil is also in here. Some evening primrose and of course some vitamin E. But like I said, I will give you the recipe as we're going along. So as I'm making it, I'll give you that. So don't worry. I will definitely promise to give you that. But if I give it to you all now, it won't make the same sense as me doing it later on. And then last but not least, this is some tapioca starch, or you can use some corn flour if you don't have that as well. You can get it from your department store. And what this will actually do is it will help combat in, you know, not being slicky and oily sort of feel. This will actually make it just feel a little bit smoother. So that's why I pop this in as well. And also, if you want a color, you can put colors, micas, but I'm actually going to be using this, which is my French clay, and it is that gorgeous kind of natural pink color, which is really, really nice, and I do really love this one. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of that, and it will give it a bit of color, so I don't need to put any micas in this product, because I do get a few people asking no mica. If you want different oils, you can also use some sweet almond oil. I'm not using it for a particular reason. I keep getting people asking me for products without the sweet almond oil, because a lot of people that have nut allergies just can't have that. So that's why I'm leaving that out of this particular body butter. And you'll notice all of my body butters have different recipes. So as you go along, you will definitely find some things that you decide to do differently with each one. And then I'm deciding to use this particular fragrance oil today. If you want, you can just use some essential oil, just a few drops of lavender or so on. But this is going to be my Spa Day inspired body butter. And so like I said, that is the particular one I'm using from Pure Candle Supplies, but you can choose whichever one you want. Do make sure you look on the recipes or the instructions from your supplies, not recipes, sorry, instructions. And they'll all have what you can use. So it might be 2%, 5%, 1%. All fragrance oils are different, so I won't be giving you the actual dosage of what to use for this. But, you know, work out your percentage rates on what you actually need. When I'm doing body butter, honestly, I usually put less than what I need because you don't want to have this having too much fragrance oil in it and giving someone an irritation. You only need the smallest bit, maybe even a teaspoon of it. You know, even though it might say 5%, I definitely wouldn't be putting that in. I'd definitely be putting less. So anyway, like I said, we've got everything ready here. So let me wipe down the bench, pop on some gloves. I will also get my mixer ready, and then we will go from there. But prior to doing all of this in the mixer, we do need to heat this up and we do need to melt this. So I would definitely suggest to melt this, you know, over you know, like a double boiling method. So what I actually have is I just have a little electric one that sits on my counter here so that I don't have to go inside the main house, because my studio stands alone on its own. There isn't a stove in here. But like I said, anyway, let's do the double boiling method. I'll organize this and then we'll come back and I'll show you exactly what we're going to do. All right, so we do have our pot here on the stove. Now, when you're using this, do be careful when you've got your gloves on, because you can burn your hand with the gloves on and this as well. So on the stove, I've got this turned on. So I usually turn it up to high and just until it gets a bit warm, and then turn it down to simmer. Once that's turned down to simmer, this is literally all we're going to do, is we're literally just going to be popping this on top. So I'm going to just pop the camera up a tiny bit. And yeah, literally this is all we're going to be doing. And we just want the boiling water here to bring steam up underneath. So underneath here, it will bring steam under the bottom and it will start to melt this round. And then what we're going to be doing is, once this melts, then we just need it to, you know, sort of set a little bit, so get a little bit cooler again, and then we will be whipping it up. But what I usually do is I usually just let this one sort of melt itself down, then I will go and actually put it into my mixer. And with the mixer as well, one really good thing is you don't need this to melt all the way down, you know, as long as all the hard bits have got out, because we're going to mix it as well. And the shea butter, as long as it's soft, the main thing that you want to melt is, of course, your cocoa butter. So in my mixture here, I do, like I said earlier, have a few different things inside here. So I'll give you the recipe for this particular one I'm doing. So I have 510 grams of unrefined shea butter in this particular one here. 50 grams of cocoa butter, and the good thing with the cocoa butter is it basically will just keep it a little bit harder because the shea butter is quite soft. But you know, you don't want it too hard at all, definitely not, but it would just give that little hardness if you're in a hot area like I am. And then I do have 60 grams of coconut oil. If you don't want to pop your coconut oil in, you can totally leave that one out and just replace it with more shea butter. But I've just definitely found that it is a nicer mix. And one good thing that I'll tell you is, as you're going along, if you're mixing this and you sort of think, oh no, you know, I'm not happy with the consistency, you can add more oil in. So don't feel like you can't. You can definitely add more oil in or more shea butter. So yeah, that's definitely something I do. So with me, I never change the amount for this particular recipe with the shea butter, cocoa, and the coconut. The only thing that I might do if I sort of feel it's too hard is add more liquid oils, and you can easily do that as well, just a little bit more jojoba oil or whatever, but this one does feel really beautiful. So anyway, what I'm going to do for now is we'll leave it on here, we'll let it get some time to melt down, and then of course I will come back. All right, so we're back. You can see that everything has started melting all the way down. And we are just literally going to keep going with this to melt this down. Now, while we're actually doing this, there's a couple other things that we can do. And I have actually turned down the heat as well to like just simmering, because you don't want water splashing in that and creating an issue for you later on. So now we do have our oils here, like I said earlier. So I'm going to be tipping these in because you want to have the shea butter and the oils at a similar temperature. You don't want to be popping in just all cold oils at the end once they're finished, and because it will cool it down a bit too much. And it's definitely better to have all the oils at the right temperature and all similar. But do make sure that your shea butter and cocoa butter and that is melting down first. And then all I'm going to be doing is literally, you know, letting it do its little job and mix around. Now, so I'll tell you the oils that I've got in here. So like I said, there are a few different oils that I've got to the side. I can't remember them off by hand, so let me just give you my list. So we have popped in 30 grams of jojoba oil. We've put in 3 grams of vitamin E, 150 grams of apricot kernal. We put in 1 gram of argan oil. You can choose to put that in or not. You don't have to put that in if you don't want to. 5 grams of evening primrose. And that is it for our oils for now. And do remember how I said before, we are going to be adding in this pink French clay. So I'm going to just add in half a teaspoon. I've already sanitized my jars and my spoons to the side, so I'm just going to pop it in now. And the reason I'm popping it in now is so that we can mix this up, and it will just help the color to sort of melt down a little bit, because we don't want to put it in the end and then it goes all crazy. And do remember, we're going to whip this up later, so just try and, you know, just get rid of any lumps or bumps from the clay. But as I said, we're going to whip it, so you know, we can whip that later. But if you just sit it on the top, it won't mix in that well, so you do have to sort of help it mix in a tiny bit, and it's not really going to change the color a lot. It's just going to give it a really light color. Also, because I choose to use unrefined shea butter, it will give you that a little bit of a nutty kind of scent. If you don't like that, then maybe you could have a look at a different shea butter, but I prefer it to be as natural as I can get it. I prefer not to have it bleached or anything like that, but that's just a personal choice on yourself how you want to actually do that. Okay, so anyway, like I said, this is exactly what we are doing for now. So we're just going to mix it all up and see what we can do. So I will come back once this is all mixed. All right, everyone, so I do have my normal bowl here, and then what we're going to be doing is I'm just going to be pouring in this liquid, which has totally melted down. So this is what it looks like. So let me just pop this in. And we will pour this in here. So inside here, this is literally what it's looking like. And we're going to let this just cool down a tiny bit. And then of course we've got our mixer here and we're going to be popping this on. So this is what we're going to be mixing with. So you definitely want your normal mixer. There's different attachments that you can pop on, but this is definitely the one we want for this. But of course this mixture here does need to cool a bit. So you could pop this in the fridge if you want, or you can leave it exactly how it is here. Usually I just leave it, and keep your spatula handy because we will need to scrape down the sides and so on as we're going along. So I'm going to pop the camera up a little bit just so you can see a bit better, and then we'll go from there. So we're just going to mix this a little bit, even though you will notice it's full liquid. So it has not solidified or got hard in any way at the moment. But what I like to do is just do this when it's a little bit warm still, because what it actually does is it will help you mix your whole ingredients and everything together. So if you have any bits of, kaolin clay, if you pop that in, or pink French clay, which I've put into this, it will just help it totally melt in and mix in together really, really well. So that's why I do it like this. And then after this, just scrape down your edges. If you're going to leave it on the stand like this, just to let it sit solidified naturally, just pop a towel over the top so nothing else can fall into it or anything like that, or pop it in the fridge until it gets harder and then bring it out at a later time. All right, everyone, we are ready. I have left this for quite some time, so this is what it's going to look like on the inside. And let me just mix it up, and then we'll see exactly how nice it is. If you mix it up and you're feeling like it needs a little bit more oil, definitely you can pop some oil in. Now I've just given this a really, really quick burst, and I'm sorry my hand's going backwards, but I'm looking backwards at this. And if you can see how gorgeous that looks, it's really, really nice. And I'm just going to get my little spoon, and you can see that it's really nice and just really lovely. I did actually add in a tiny weeny bit more of oil. And now what you have to do is on the sides down the bottom, you probably can't see, but actually you sort of get stuck because it's hard with the cocoa butter. So you need to scrape it from the sides and then like keep mixing. So I usually do bursts of anything from 20 to 40 kind of seconds, and like I said, and then keep going around. And then once this is pretty good and we've got everything off the side, then I'll actually add in my fragrance oil. But as I said before, I'm going to do a very, very small portion of that. So let me just get something, we'll scrape the side. So I'm just going to get my spoon and scrape the side. So if you can see that, that's the hard bit at the bottom that gets stuck. So that's why we need to scrape the sides and then remix again. And that's going to happen no matter what you do. It's just during this process, because something's going to stick to the side and then this whip won't get right in the edges. Now, so we're going to pop this back in and just mix it all up. So I'm just going to get everything away from the edge. And let me just just mix this back up. So I can see that it's pretty good. And then I'm just going to be using my little teaspoon here. So this is a half teaspoon. So I always start with just adding like 1 teaspoon in. Honestly, you could add like 30 mils in or something, but I'm not going to do that. I usually only add a very small amount and then mix it up again. We will pop this up. And now when we're going to be adding in, like, I can feel how beautiful that is. If you can see how gorgeous it is, it looks like vanilla cream. And you could add you can add some mica in if you want, but generally I try not to add too much in because people don't really want lots of colors on them. I wouldn't if it was me either. So that's one thing definitely that lots of customers have told me. And then of course we do have our starch here, so you can just add that in now if you want. You don't have to add it all in, but honestly it does just make a much nicer one. And I can see this does feel really nice. The one thing to remember is once it settles, it will go harder again. So if you feel like you want it more watery, don't feel scared to add in more apricot kernel oil. Sometimes I add like another 1/3 of a cup in, and that's fine to add that in as well because it all adds to that beautiful feel. You can also add some avocado oil as well in there, which we might actually add a tiny bit at the end. So I've actually added in, you would have seen, I've just added in 1/4 cup of avocado oil as well. It would just make to a really nice, whip. And as you can see here, I mean, look how gorgeous that is. There's a bit of avocado on top, so we'll have to scrape the edges. And then obviously we're going to mix it again. You don't have to put that in. You can just use whichever oil you want. Just don't use olive oil because it's a bit too heavy. Even sweet almond oil is quite heavy on a body butter as well. So because you've got to remember this is going on the skin. And when I'm finished, I will actually show you, we'll keep a little bit in the end, and I'll show you just on my own arm because I do have dry skin. But this is really good. I have another one I've used, and you may want to create one that's for sensitive skin, one that's not, so that way you can have a few different ones. They don't all have to be the same recipe. We'll mix it up and then we're going to pipe it into the jars. Right, now we have finished, so I'm just going to pull this to the side and then I will actually show you, so if you can see how it sits on there, it is really thick and just luxurious. When I first started making these, I used to put high coconut oil because I didn't understand the difference. So don't feel scared to play around because that's how you actually realize you've made a mistake. And then all I'm doing here is if you start to move this, because if you have bits that are hard and chunky, like I can actually see, if you can see that little chunky tiny bit there. So when you do that, if you see that's chunky, you have to go back in and mix it. So I know I'm going to have to go back and mix this again because I can see a couple tiny bits of chunky bits. So that is really important to keep mixing until there is absolutely no little chunky bits left. So So we'll just scrape the edges once again. And so a little bit's on my arm here, and if you can see, we'll just rub it in a little bit. And it's just going to be absolutely beautiful. And I can actually feel that that's quite light. It's not real heavy either. So now this is kind of a medium batch, but you know, you might want to do a much bigger batch than this. Eventually, I really would love to get one of those kind of like baking ones where you can do a massive amount as well. And don't sell your shea butter mixes like this for really cheap, because this costs a lot of money for me to make this, because it's you know, unrefined shea butter, like a really high end. So you can't be selling it for like $5. You need to sell a small one for like 15. So the smaller one that I showed you before, I actually sell that one for 15. And I have no problem selling it. I sell it all the time. So we'll mix this up one last bit, and then we're going to get the piping ready. Alright, so I've got my jars here. I'm going to pop down the camera, and then I will pipe it, and I'll show you how I'm doing all of this, because we're up to the next bit. Alright, so I have already sanitized these ones, and to the side is my scale. So what I usually do is tear out the scale, fill them up, and then I'm going to see. But make sure you don't fill it up too high, because you do need to get the lid on. Inside here I do have my piping bag, which is already in my little container. So all we're going to be doing is just piping in the mixture into here, and then putting it straight into these jars. And if you can see, once again, it's absolutely beautiful. So the one thing that to remember is you just don't want it super hard. If it's hard, it's not going to be a great body butter. You can also put this inside plastic containers before you put it in here, which I probably should have done that. I just forgot. So you can put it in like a plastic film, similar to when you're doing, you know, your body whips and things. That way it makes it not as crazy, doesn't it? So, and there you go, it's in here, and so I'm going to just do this big one, and we will actually tear out the scale. So we know that's like 300 grams. So all we're going to do is literally just start making it. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And something is stuck in the end, which it may be a bit of hard butter that sometimes happens. If ever you have a hard bit of cocoa butter, it gets stuck. And I mean, look how beautiful that looks, so nice. So I'm going to just pop it onto the scale, and that's 173 in there. So in here I have 205, so I reckon we're just going to keep to that 200 in there. I think that's actually a really good amount for us. You will have noticed that I had some issues with the end of my piping tip because it just wasn't open enough. So next we go on to step 2, and I'm just going to be popping it in the plastic film, as you can see, and then back into a new piping bag. So we've got our bags here, and then of course we have put it in here. So this is the plastic film. We just cut off the end, and we're just going to be popping it into our bag. You don't need to even have a tip on the end. You just want to get the amount into the jar. If you've got a clear jar, then I would suggest that you put a really nice tip at the end. So I'm just going to tear this out again. which is my scale to the side, and I'm sorry you can't see. That's fine, we just want to be able to see. And then, and look how gorgeous that looks. So in here we've got about 60 grams. I'm going to give it a tiny weeny bit more just so that I know it is 60. Always keep one for your photo. So that one can be my photo one. And then we'll do the medium. And this is about 120 grams, so it's more like 125, but 120 will be fine because the time I hit that down, the lid will close up, which will be fine. And then that is it. I mean, look how cute these ones look. So this is exactly what they're going to look like. I will move them back so you can see a bit, and I will move all this plastic out the way. But don't they look gorgeous? So I'll do the photos, and at the end, of course, I'll pop everything down so you can see what I've done. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.